Welcome to this presentation, which will give you a quick overview of the current state of generative AI. Before we start, some quick information. All the resources mentioned in this presentation will be listed in a Notion document accessible on my website, callmefred.com. I've also generated some timestamps to give you direct access to the key segments of the presentation. You can find them in the description below. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comments or send me an email via contact@callmefred.com. Let's dive in. We have a lot to cover today, from a brief introduction to the origins and the inner workings of generative AI, to a series of compelling demos of the technology in 5 different fields: text, image, audio, video, and coding. We will finish with some advanced workflows. Small detail, important detail, we will be eating our own dog food. All the images used in this presentation were created using MidJourney. As Joe Rogan says, buckle up, folks, it's going to be a wild ride. Let's start with a definition. What is generative AI? Generative AI, according to ChatGPT itself, refers to a subset of artificial intelligence that focuses on creating new, original content by learning patterns, structures, and relationships in existing data. These AI models can generate text, images, music, code, and other forms of content. Generative AI is leveraging what we call LLMs, or large language models. Large language models are advanced machine learning models designed to process and generate human-like text based on large data sets. These models are built using deep learning techniques, specifically neural networks inspired by the human brain, with many layers and a large number of parameters. They are trained on vast amounts of text data, which enables them to understand and generate language with outstanding proficiency. Training LLMs is a massive endeavor which requires tons of labeled data and computing power. In the initial stage of the first phase, it taps into some good old school NLP and a corpus of human annotated text data. Then it moves into masking, fine-tuning, and evaluation. Let's see the details. The learning process starts with pre-training. The first stage of the initial phase is unsupervised learning via embedded text pairs, similar in meaning. The model is fed with tons of text items which are vectorized, it means converted into numbers, which enables the model to spot statistical patterns in the relationship between tokens and surrounding tokens, what we can call the context. For your information, one token represents on average 3/4 of a word. 1,000 tokens equals roughly 750 words. We tell the model explicitly which pairs are similar in meaning so that it can further compare vectors and conclude they are also similar in meaning by deduction. This requires a lot of data preparation via some old school NLP models and also human annotations. There are now also some open source data sets of pairs like paraphrase adversaries from word scramblings, Microsoft Research Paraphrase Corpus, Quora question pairs, etc. The second stage of the first phase is called masking. The model is fed with content including blanks, masked sections, and it is asked to predict the missing parts. The second phase of the learning process is fine-tuning. The model is trained for specific tasks on labeled data. For instance, for sentiment analysis, you can feed it with text input labeled negative, neutral, positive. And finally, we move to the evaluation and adjustment phase. Now you can feed the model with unlabeled data that it hasn't seen before and ask the model to label the data, then compare the output to the correct answer. you rinse and repeat until you are satisfied with the results, and then you deploy the model in production. Look at those visuals on the screen generated by MidJourney. They are depicting the training process of large language models, LLMs. ChatGPT inspired the two longest prompts, which you can read on your own on the screen. You can pause the video. And for the last one, I used a reference image from FreePic, found via the query neural network machine learning. And I kind of like the visualization of the in and out process, which I've just described. A smart iteration, I think, on the reference image from FreePic. The models developed by OpenAI and other AI players are called GPT for Generative Pre-trained Transformers. They are trained on a vast amount of data to generate text in autocomplete mode after instantly understanding the relationships between the elements of the input in order to deliver a coherent output. The main difference in the evolution of GPTs is the amount of parameters. We have here the evolution for the OpenAI GPT models, 600x, as you can see, from GPT-2 to GPT-4, from 1.5 billion parameters to roughly, that's an estimation, 1.05 trillion parameters for GPT-4 in late 2022. A parameter refers to the adjustable elements, like the cogs in the machine of the model, that are set during the training process. Parameters are the internal variables of the model that are fine-tuned to minimize the difference between the model's predictions and the actual target outputs in the training data. In other words, what you expect from the model. These parameters are also known as weights and biases. On the input side of a neural connection, weights determine the weighted influence of the info received by the neurons in the neural network, whereas biases are a threshold applied to the consolidated input value before applying the mathematical function, which will determine the output of the neuron. So, for instance, in our example, we have two inputs valued originally 1 and 1, weighted 2 and 1, which gives us 2 and 1, which we consolidate as 3. Then we add the bias of 0.5 and we get a value of 3.5. We apply the mathematical function of the neuron, which is not detailed in the example, which gives us, in this case, 4.5, which is the value that will be propagated in the network. Depending on the outcome and the rules of the model, the info will be propagated or not to the next layer of neurons. To train a model, you feed it with inputs and corresponding outputs. The model is first initialized with a set of weights and biases. They can be randomly generated or pre-trained on a different task. You run the input through the model and look at the difference between the prediction and the actual expected output. Then, based on the error, because there will be errors obviously, between the predicted output and the actual output, you perform what is known as back propagation, which programmatically updates the weights and biases in the model. You just turn the buttons, actually, weights and biases of this giant factory to improve the results of the production line. And gradually, the model will make a prediction which is closer to the expected output. Basically, a reliable model offers predictions which closely match the target outputs. The more refined your parameters, the more reliable your model will be, but also the more it will take time to process the input and generate the output. I've drawn this schema which explains how weights and biases work on a very, very high level. Those inner workings will remain cryptic, of course, for 99.9% of the users of generative AI applications, but I thought it was worth taking a quick peek under the hood of generative AI. You have probably heard about AR, or augmented reality, which can add a digital layer on top of reality as we know it. It doesn't replace reality, but overlays insights and instructions onto the existing world. And we can say that AR amplifies reality. Generative AI is also an augmenting tool which can dramatically enhance your skills and capabilities. As a kind of creative exoskeleton, it gives you superpowers to 10x your productivity in a wide range of personal and business applications. Today, we will explore 5 types of content generation enabled by artificial intelligence, as well as some advanced workflows. This presentation will give you, I hope, actionable tips and tricks to start using those technologies in your daily practice. Before diving deeper into the presentation, let's pause for a moment to have a look at this graph representing the adoption of generative AI across a variety of industries. It was recently shared by Insight.com, and it was based on a survey of 4,500 US professionals. As you can see, marketing and advertising is currently at the top there. It's usually an industry which is always at the cutting edge of technology. And accounting, which everyone expects to be heavily disrupted by generative AI, comes in fourth place in this top 5. Text generation and text processing are probably the most used forms of generative AI today, the most natural implementations of large language models, I would say. ChatGPT, the number one text generation application, is actually the fastest growing consumer application of all times. It went from 0 to 1 million users in 5 days. It took 10 months to Facebook to reach the same level. And ChatGPT went from 0 to 100 million users in 2 months. It took TikTok 9 months to reach the same level. Here you can see an illustration from MidJourney based on the following prompt. Concept illustrating how fast the AI space is moving at the moment, like in a frenetic gold rush. It's indeed an unparalleled moment in the history of technology, which raises tons of questions, including some existential ones. ChatGPT is currently the number one interface to interact with a large language model, but it's not the only one. Google Translate and DeepL are LLMs focused on machine translation. DeepL is a German service created in 2017 by the founders of Lingui, launched in 2007. The original concept of Lingui was to crawl the web to scrape and present bilingual texts divided in parallel sentences. Those pairs were the building blocks of DeepL's training data. In the field of creative and commercial writing, Jasper, Copy.ai, Writesonic, Rytr.me, among many others, are very popular AI writing assistants, and they are powered behind the scenes by OpenAI's GPT APIs. Other competitors include Writer.com, Peppertype.ai, and many, many others. It's a very, very crowded space with new entrants on a weekly basis. In search, besides Bing, which is now powered, as you may know, by GPT-4, and Google's own Bard, now accessible on an invitation-only basis, I wanted to point out Perplexity.ai. It's a very neat service, citing its sources for every result. It was created by a team of A-listers from Quora, Databricks, Meta, Palantir, Google, and many other leading companies. I strongly recommend to try Perplexity, which very often performs much better actually than ChatGPT for pure factual queries. And I can see in a not so distant future search engines being replaced by what we could call answer engines, removing the need and often the pain, to be honest, to skim through pages of results. I wanted on this slide to compare the consumer price of two of the most visible players in the space. ChatGPT, the consumer UI of GPT 3.5 and GPT-4 on one hand, and Jasper.ai, one of many AI writing assistants on the other hand. I also wanted to compare the wholesale price of the API of OpenAI versus Jasper's consumer price for 100,000 words per month. So ChatGPT, as you know, ChatGPT Plus, is offered at $20 per month. Bear in mind that GPT-4 currently has a cap of 25 messages every 3 hours. So you use mainly GPT 3.5 with ChatGPT. There are no advertised usage limits for ChatGPT Plus, to my knowledge. Jasper is priced in what they call boss mode at $82 per month for 100,000 generated words. And we could compare this to 26 cents via the OpenAI API, including the prompt tokens, which are also invoiced by OpenAI, whereas with Jasper, they only bill you for the generated words. What's the takeaway? Well, if you have a regular need for content and are capable of crafting your own prompts and calling the API via a no-code platform like Zapier or Make, or even better, a custom Python script, you will save a ton of money by skipping the user-friendly abstraction layer offered by Jasper and all the other competitors. We are talking about a 300x difference between wholesale and retail. That's pretty significant. 1 million words via the GPT 3.5 API will cost $2.6. 1 million words, $2.6. Jasper doesn't communicate pricing above 700,000 words. Beyond that, it's enterprise callers for pricing. And 700,000 words are currently sold at $500 per month. For your information, without a very strong moat, we could say, Jasper nevertheless managed to raise $125 million at a $1.5 billion valuation in late 2022, while OpenAI has so far raised a total of $11 billion in 6 rounds, mainly from Microsoft, for a total valuation estimated at around $29 billion. I will spare you the usual ChatGPT Q&A screenshots that are shared on Twitter, and I will focus on a few more advanced examples of the power of this technology. For my first demo, I asked ChatGPT to generate 50 unique article topics and then iterate through the list to write each article one by one and output the results in HTML format. And I really love the fact that you can get a clean Python list as a reply, not the usual unordered or ordered list. I have highlighted with the two little fingers there on the screen the square brackets which show that we are here presented with a real Python list. If you are a bit familiar with programming, you have noticed that I have basically created a for loop in a text prompt. A for loop iterating through the titles. So I have my list of titles equals title 1, title 2, title 3, and then I have this for loop, for title in titles, write me an article. And as you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, ChatGPT generated a clean HTML output for the first article, ready for integration in your favorite CMS. You could even ask it to wrap the article in a div, add a CSS class, etc. You can do whatever you want in your prompt. That's the beauty of a tool which can output both text and code. And if I hit next at the end of this first article, ChatGPT will generate the second piece, etc., until the end of the Python list. This way, I can avoid what we call truncated outputs, because as you know, there is a limit in the size of the replies of ChatGPT. I just have to hit next 49 times to get my 50 articles. Of course, if you are able to code a basic Python script, you can also just grab the Python list generated in the first step and iterate through it via an actual for loop to get your 50 articles automatically. And you can even publish them via an API call at the end of each step of your for loop on a WordPress site or on any other CMS accessible via an API. And remember that if you are using the native OpenAI API, you will only pay roughly $0.002 per article. That's 10 cents per 50 articles. Here is another super effective use case of ChatGPT, ideation in the brainstorming phase. Simply set the scene and ask the AI to come up with original ideas. Most of the time, you will be impressed by the relevance of the suggestions. You can also fine-tune the prompt to get more specific ideas around SEO, paid advertising, event marketing, etc. In the previous example, I showed you how you can assign a role to the AI agent, which determines the way it will answer your question. You can push this concept a little bit further and use ChatGPT in a role-playing game. For instance, when you need to come up with relevant questions for an interview to ask a candidate, and the AI can even suggest examples of good answers, which is pretty useful for candidates preparing for the interview. If you are too lazy to read a blog article, you can quickly create a web scraper with beautiful soup in Python, type in the URL, extract the content, and call GPT 3.5 with the OpenAI API to generate a 10-point summary and a super short 3-point takeaway digest. Let me explain the full code on the screen. It won't take more than 2 minutes, and this could be your first Python script, actually. So the 3 first lines are meant to import the packages and also the function that I created in another Python file, which you can see zoomed in this little frame. This is the function to call the OpenAI API to start a conversation with ChatGPT. Then I've got an input where the user will just input their URL. I also initialize the usage of the API for the amount of tokens which will be used for the script, because I want to compute this at the end of the script. You see at the bottom of the script to get an idea of the price that it will cost for the script to run. Then I just have a few lines to basically scrape the content from the URL, find all the p tags, so content equals soup.findAll p to find all the paragraphs inside this page. Then I will extract the text from those paragraphs, and then I will call the API twice, once to get a clean 10-point summary, and once again to get a 3-point digest. And that's it, basically. That's the script to generate 2 summaries, a longer one and a shorter one, from a single URL. Speaking of summarization, I wanted to share with you a pretty compelling argument, in my opinion, developed by A16Z, Andreessen Horowitz, on their blog. The writer here argues that while we are now impressed by the volume of content that generative AI can produce from a single simple prompt, we will be even more impressed by the concision and the precision of the AI's output in a second wave, which is presented as SynthI, synthesis AI by the writer, as opposed to generative AI. So we have now minimum input, maximum output. That's pretty impressive. We want to share those results on Twitter. And we're coming to something which is more maximum input, leading to minimum concise output. By now, you have already understood that the quality of the output depends significantly on the quality of the prompts. prompt engineering has quickly become a sought-after skill that some companies in the Valley are ready to pay up to $300,000 per year. Multiple marketplaces are now selling ready-made prompts for various generative AI services. You can check out, for instance, promptbase.com, prompthero.com. I have just started testing Bard by Google. I was invited to the beta. And honestly, I'm not impressed. I asked Bart, for instance, for some testimonials about my marketing services. You can actually find real ones on the homepage of my website. And Bart made up entirely fake testimonials, not even hiding they were fake, actually, signed John Smith, Jane Doe, and co, etc. And then Bart explained that those looked fishy before reluctantly admitting that it made them up. Quite an epic fail, I would say. Image generation now. Image generation is one of the hottest fields in generative AI for a good reason. The images generated by tools like Stable Diffusion, dall-e, and especially MidJourney are simply mind-blowing, beautifully illustrating almost any concept you can think of. But they are not limited to the usual fantasy or anime characters you will come across in most AI art galleries. Let me show you how to start using MidJourney for very concrete professional use cases. First, let me show you how to create your own Discord server and add the MidJourney bot to your server. Because by default, when you start using MidJourney, if you go to their Discord server, you will be in the public server. And it can be pretty confusing. The best way to use MidJourney is to create your own server, Discord server. It takes 10 seconds, and then invite the bot to your server. So let's have a look to see how we can do that. And I will comment the video. So you start by pressing on the plus, and you create your own server for me and my friends. You give it a name. So I gave it a name which was my personal MidJourney server, I think. Yes. You just create the server. You can add an icon if you want, but it's optional. And then you go to the MidJourney Discord server, so the public one there. You click, and in the sidebar, you will go to the MidJourney bot and add it to your server. So you pick your server in the list of servers. Yes, that's the one. And then you continue, just authorize, confirm. You confirm you're a human being. And voila, the bot has been added to your own MidJourney server. So it's a private server. And then you can start typing /imagine, and then you just click on enter so that it confirms it will be a prompt. And you can just type in your prompt and hit enter, and it will generate your image. So here I wrote concept illustrating the fast development of generative AI, 3D illustration, white background. Yeah, white background is a nice way to prompt MidJourney if you want something that you can use for a PNG. You just remove the background with Canva or remove background. And as you can see, we have here a few examples of a concept illustrating the fast development of generative AI. And you can upscale one of those images if you want. So you can make one of those bigger. That's the one that I used in this presentation. You can download it. If you type /info anywhere, you will get a detail of the current state of your subscription. So how many generations are left. And also, yes, an important point is that if you want to remove one of those images from MidJourney, you've got to react to the image with a red cross, because by default, those images, even if you have a premium subscription, will be presented in your public gallery, as you can see. So you see here all the images that were recently generated in my public gallery. You can also copy the job ID or the seed or even the prompt of each of those images. Here you have the prompt, and you can do the same for all of the other images shared in the public gallery of MidJourney. If you click on Explore on the left-hand side, you can get access to all the images that are publicly shared. And so here, yes, I wanted to show you that if you click on the red cross, it will remove the image from MidJourney, so you won't see it anymore on your public gallery. There is only one plan, which is called the Pro plan, priced at $48 per month, which gives you the possibility to publish images in stealth mode, not displayed in the public gallery. With all the other plans, they are public by default, and you have to hit the red cross if you want to remove them from the public gallery. It's an important detail worth sharing. Let's explore a few examples of images generated with MidJourney for some of my clients. The first image was meant to illustrate an article about a specific role in the organization, this dietitian. The second one was a brainstorming around the future store improvements. And the third one was part of my research around e-commerce opportunities. As you can see here, I asked the AI to create a concept sheet of colorful, fluffy 3D music toys for kids with a white background, so that I could remove also the background and create a PNG. The first image on this slide was generated to illustrate the back of the brochure of an upcoming live production. The second one was meant to illustrate an article about yoga for kids. And the third one was part of a brainstorming session around a packaging project. And I have highlighted here in red some of the key elements of the prompt, like in the first one, cinematic 35mm still photo, and also the aspect ratio. So -AR is for aspect ratio. Here it's 16:9. In the second one, cinematic, also dreamy early morning lighting. You can give a lot of lighting instructions to MidJourney. And in the third one, packaging concept for a weight loss food supplement based on artichokes. Let's see how to use a reference image with MidJourney. So I will show you the demo here. So as you can see, first I will start by removing this one, hitting the red cross, and then I just do /imagine, and I click on prompt, and then I will drag this image that I uploaded of myself to the prompt, hit space, and then I will add the text of my prompt to this image, and this will generate the image that you see on the left-hand side. And as you can see, this image of a geek working on a computer late at night in an empty office was definitely inspired by the reference image. You can see the same jacket, which is not the typical jacket for a geek, I would say, like a circus jacket, on the image rendered by the AI there. So if you want to create an image from a reference image, you simply hit /imagine prompt, and you add your prompt to the image, and it will basically blend the info from the reference image with the inspiration from the prompt. And here you can see 4 different examples, and I picked the third one that I upscaled. And as you can see also, I used -AR for aspect ratio 16:9. On the last example on this page, you can see how close the output is from the image reference. A selfie of a happy woman with a dog. And you can see all the details in the outputs, even the dogs, just, in front of the camera in selfie mode. It's pretty successful in terms of rendering. Another major player in the image generation space is Stability.ai with their stable diffusion model. If you have a Windows PC, you can run it locally, provided you have a decent GPU. And there are also online demos of Stable Diffusion, for instance, on HuggingFace, a platform for AI enthusiasts sharing hundreds of models and data sets. You can also look for cloud-based services such as Rundiffusion.com, where you can run an instance of Stable Diffusion on the cloud. Replicate.com gives you API access to multiple versions of Stable Diffusion, as well as to other image generation models. But personally, I still prefer the rendering of MidJourney. Stable Diffusion and DALL-E deliver, in my opinion, rather inconsistent outputs. They perform better with strong styling guidelines, such as in my next example, in the style of Johannes Vermeer. You will usually feel much more satisfied, in my opinion, with the results of MidJourney. And one last thing regarding image generation, do not expect the AI models to write any readable text on the images for you. Import the images into Canva or into Photoshop to add your text, or use a Python script or a no-code tool like Banner Bear to programmatically add your text to a series of images. Here you can see a few examples of images generated by DALL-E from the same prompt, just changing the style of the output, Rubens, Johannes Vermeer, and Andy Warhol. Canva, which has now more than 100 million monthly active users, that is huge, recently launched some AI features, both for text and image generation. And I wanted to show you a quick demo of the image tool, which I must say delivers pretty decent results. It is based on a fine-tuned version of Stable Diffusion. So let's have a look to see how we can use the image generation. So you can write a prompt, select one of the presets for the style. So I have here my prompt and I hit create your image. It will take maybe 20 seconds. And then here I have a few images based on this prompt: cute squirrel, radio DJ, speaking in a vintage microphone, spotlight on microphone, 3D digital art station. And I wanted to show you the default rendering by MidJourney on the top right of the screen, with two different variants from Canva on the bottom right on the screen. In my opinion, there is still a more refined, magical vibe in the creations of MidJourney, but you could argue that, of course, it's just a matter of taste. We have seen how generative AI can help you pen any form of copy and design stunning visuals. Now let's speak about audio. We will cover text-to-speech, speech-to-text, and we will also shortly discuss the impact of generative AI on the world of music creation. Text-to-speech has come a very long way since the robotic voice developed for Stephen Hawking in 1986. A peculiar voice, which he kept until his death in March 2018, age 76. Despite the advances in text-to-speech synthesis between 1986 and 2018, Stephen Hawking refused to upgrade the voice. The original 1980 sound had become part of his public persona. 2 years ago, I wrote an article about the big boys in the text-to-speech game, Google Cloud text-to-speech, Amazon Polly, and Microsoft Azure Cognitive Services text-to-speech. At that time, my preference, and I will give you a demo in a moment, went to Microsoft Azure. But with the rapid development of generative AI, new challengers are emerging on the scene. The most visible today are Murf.ai, Play.ht, and Elevenlabs.io, founded by two Polish engineers. Elevenlabs now boasts more than 1 million users. It was launched in late 2022. We will listen now to the evolution of the technology from Stephen Hawking to the last example, which was created using Elevenlabs and d-id.com. It's a clone of myself with my own voice, also cloned using Elevenlabs. So let's listen first to a quick example of the voice of the late Stephen Hawking.
Science. I surprised myself by being successful. The prevailing attitude at Oxford at that time was very anti-work. You were supposed to be brilliant without effort, or to accept your limitations and get a fourth-class degree.
So that was a voice originally developed in 1986. And now we will listen to an example from Microsoft Azure Neural Voices text-to-speech in 2021. Reading here a poem by Thomas Hardy, She Opened the Door.
She opened the door of the west to me, with its loud sea lashings, and cliffside clashings of waters rife with revelry. She opened the door of romance to me, the door from a cell I had known too well, too long, till then, and was fain to flee. She opened the door of a love to me.
It's pretty good, I would say. And the last example is my own avatar clone created with Elevenlabs. So the voice was created with 3 samples of just 15 seconds, very short cloning process and very cheap also. And the video was created with d-id.com.
What's up, freaks and geeks? It's your boy Fred here, and today I've got some mind-blowing news for you. You know how we're always looking for ways to level up our lives and push the boundaries of what's possible? Well, I've decided to take things to the next level by cloning myself. That's right, you heard me correctly. I'm going to be making a duplicate of yours truly. Now I know what you're thinking. Fred, are you crazy? But hear me out, this is going to be one hell of an experiment. I'm talking about creating a carbon copy of myself with all the same skills, knowledge, and personality traits. We're talking about taking self-improvement to a whole new level, folks. So buckle up, strap in, and get ready for a wild ride, because things are about to get interesting.
So that was my clone created with d-id.com and the voice clone with Elevenlabs. And there is a video on the web if you want to see all the process for the creation of this clone. Multiple startups are now offering voice cloning features, but in most cases, this is still rather expensive, except for Elevenlabs.io, where you can clone your own voice, currently only in US English, with a handful of short samples for just $5 per month. That's very cheap. Imagine the impact of such a feature on the creative industries, voiceover artists, radio presenters, and also singers. And this was the demo shared by Elevenlabs when they launched the service.
I stand before you not as an expert, but as a concerned citizen.
One of the 400,000 people who marched in the streets of New York on Sunday.
And the billions of others around
all
the
those
world
voices
who want to solve
were
our climate
cloned
crisis.
using Elevenlabs. So you can find this demo of Elevenlabs and a few other videos also on YouTube. And I've just here inserted 2 screenshots of the app. So the first screenshot is the screen where you just upload a few samples to create your own voice. That's the way I created my clone in the previous slide. And as you can see here, for just $5 per month, you can start playing with this tool, which is quite mind-blowing, to be honest. In April 2023, an anonymous guy on TikTok posted what he presented as a duet between The Weeknd and Drake called Art on My Sleeve. Some people thought it might have been a promo stunt, a smart one, by the artists themselves, but most platforms, including Spotify, quickly removed the track after receiving a cease and desist from the publisher. So we can assume that it was real. It was a pretty convincing deepfake. The question is, are we moving to a time when artists and fans will use AI to produce infinite covers and original songs? It raises a lot of questions, not only in terms of productivity, but also, of course, on the legal front. Who is the copyright holder of those AI-generated original songs? What about the rights of the artists to protect the sound of their voice beyond the obvious trademark on their name, The Weeknd or Drake? That's a very interesting time, to say the least. So let's listen to a few examples. So now, just a video I managed to grab from this duet between The Weeknd and Drake.
Young mentor, no, trust me, almost. the flex, ayy. Bumpin' Justin Bieber, the fever ain't left, ayy. She know what she need, all she blessed, ayy. Giving my best, ayy. Yeah, I got my heart.
That's here the profile on TikTok of the ghostwriter, the guy who created this duet. And you might have seen also this rap which was created by David Guetta using Uberduck.ai with the voice of Eminem.
This is the future rave sound. I'm getting lost in an underground. This is the future rave sound. I'm getting lost in an underground.
And the service is called Uberduck. It's also super cheap. You can also use voice models already available on the platform, or use a new voice model, Uberduck.ai, if you want to play with this tool. And of course, you can now generate music with AI, beats, melodies, and even the vocal parts. Let's see how you can use two of those tools, Beatoven.ai first, and then another one, which is really impressive, called Beatbot.fm. So let's have a look at Beatoven.ai first. So on Beatoven, just pick a style, the genre, and then the mood, and then you go to the next phase, and in a few seconds, I would say 20 seconds, you have a track, and you can then just play, download this track. I think, yeah, I've got it here. So that's the track which was generated by the AI. And the next one is really impressive. So the next one, you can find it at beatbot.fm. It basically creates an original rap song based on your text prompt. So you just, as if you were using ChatGPT, enter a text prompt, like the joy of discovering generative AI. I think I wrote for this demo, the wonders of generative AI. Then I just hit generate, and yeah, the experience is pretty nice. It starts by composing the text, the vocals, and then it adds the music. And this is the result of this.
Exploring the realms of deep learning, the possibilities are endless. Generative AI unravels the unknown powerful tools to help us grow. All rooms build a future, a vision of the world that awaits. Uncovering the mysteries, discovering the potential of these great states.
And you can even influence the output in terms of styling. So if you want it to be more like soul, R&B, acid jazz, trap, whatever, you just add some styling components in your prompt, and you will have a different output. It's pretty nice if you want to create a jingle, or if you want to just send some message to your loved ones in a rap fashion. Beatbot.fm. Text-to-speech generation is not limited to those solo performances. You can also use the technology today for fully automated conversations based on AI-generated dialogues. We can now listen to the beginning of this episode of the Joe Rogan AI Experience, a parody featuring a clone of Joe Rogan and a clone of Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI.
I am not the real Joe Rogan. Let me repeat it once more. I am not Joe Rogan, and the guests are not of the people they portray. So let's dive right in. Your company just released a new tool called ChatGPT. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is and what it does?
Sure. So ChatGPT is an AI language model that's been trained on a massive amount of text data.
So that's very, very convincing, very impressive. Automated podcast using text-to-speech and a clone voice. We have heard what you can achieve today with text-to-speech. The opposite is voice recognition, also called speech-to-text. That's the technology which is used by voice assistants like Alexa, Siri, and Google Assistant. They convert your voice prompts into text, which can then be used for search queries. The big players in the industry all have their own text-to-speech products, but we have also seen the emergence of a few new players, challengers like Whisper, one of the services of OpenAI, Otter, Descript. And if you use those tools, you can easily convert a podcast or the soundtrack of a video into a transcript, which you can then use for all sorts of text publications, for instance, blog posts. And the script, which is demoed here on the screen, also offers you the possibility to edit the original audio by editing the text, which is really mind-blowing. It's much easier than editing the sound wave. It will also remove automatically the long blanks and the filler words. You can edit a video like a Word document and instantly publish your changes. And this will also remove the image frames corresponding to the text edits if you decide to remove some text from your video. Generative AI can also be used for various purposes in video creation and advanced editing. Text to video is still a nascent space, and most models you can test on HuggingFace and other platforms don't produce very convincing results. They are very often limited to 2 or 3 second clips. But I recently came across a very intuitive app enabling you to generate short videos from a single prompt, delivering pretty good results. It's called Decoherence. You can find it at decoherence.co. It was part of the 2023 winter cohort of Y Combinator. I want to show you a quick demo of the user interface and the final output on the right-hand side, which was edited in Canva to add the text and the jingle that I ordered on Fiverr. It's a promo for my weekly radio show. So let's have a look at the interface first. You simply pick a style. So I think I picked synthwave punk for this demo. Then you generate with a text prompt, or you import a starting frame. That will be the first image of your video animation. So I wrote Radio DJ Cinematic, very short one. Then I decided to have a 15-second animation because I needed to match the length of the jingle. And then for the audio, I imported the audio of my jingle directly there. And you have to add a prompt specifically for the video. So I just explained the concept of my radio show to this AI, and then I generated the video. So you hit generate video, and that's it. And you will see the result. So the result is the video used in the background of this example. All the text was added using Canva.
You're listening to... Pay attention. You're listening to... Let's go! From the Other Side with DJ Fred. DJ Fred.
Party time, baby.
On Riverside Radio.
And the first frame, you see the first frame, just even before that, I think. Yeah, the first frame was the starting image, and then all of the animation was created automatically by the AI. So let's have a look again.
You're listening to... Pay attention. You're listening to... Let's go! From the Other Side with DJ Fred. DJ Fred.
Party time, baby.
On Riverside Radio.
That's it, on decoherence.co. Runway is probably the most visible company in the AI-assisted video editing space. They have released the beta of Gen 1, a video-to-video application. You start with a normal video. Then you apply a style reference, either from an image or a style preset or a text prompt even, and you hit generate. And my first test was restyled from a cyberpunk reference image, whereas my second test that you will see in a moment was generated from a text prompt, DJ playing in the jungle. So let's have a look at a quick demo. So I have here my reference video. Then I pick a style from the grid preset, and I just hit generate. And it created pretty quickly, I would say probably in 30 seconds, this video, which we will play, which is I think 3 seconds long or even 2 seconds long. So it's just the beginning of my reference video in cyberpunk mode. And the second one was the jungle mode. It's funny. And as you can see, the stage assistant on the right-hand side there was replaced by a palm tree. And I have another example. I asked for a video for a DJ playing on a beach in Ibiza. So it's the same reference video. You see on the top right of the slide one frame of this video, and you see the arrow pointing to the stage assistant on the right-hand side there. And I asked the AI to restyle it in a very Ibiza summer style, and as you can see there, the stage assistant now wears a T-shirt instead of a jacket. Okay, you can see there the stage assistant on the right-hand side wearing a T-shirt instead of the jacket in the reference image. Pretty smart AI. And Runway has just announced Gen 2, their latest model, which will enable you to create a video from a single text prompt, so text to video, as you would create a static image in Stable Diffusion or MidJourney, without any driving video or reference image. So that's full generative AI coming soon. We could even say coming soon to a theater near you. Gen 2 and other AI video tools will empower a new generation of filmmakers. I'm also sharing some examples here on the right-hand side of a promising open source text-to-video project, which you can fork on GitHub. It's called Text-to-Video 0. With both of those tools, there's no need for motion capture. It's just creativity at your fingertips. And the same techniques, obviously, will be applied in the video game industry to generate not only 3D characters, but entire photorealistic virtual world. You can imagine that in the very near future, you will be able to generate your own fan version of any iconic movie with any plot at any time. So let's have a look first at the demo of text to video. It's a very quick one. You will see here a few of those short videos moving like GIF animations based on the prompts that you see on the screen. So the panda playing guitar on Times Square. And if I stop this one, I wanted to show you the trailer, the intro of Runway Gen 2.
Not too long ago, Runway pushed the boundaries of generative AI with Gen 1, a video-to-video model that allows you to use words and images to generate new videos out of existing ones. In the weeks since launching, the model has constantly gotten better. Better temporal consistency, better fidelity, better results. And as more and more people gained access, we unlocked entirely new use cases and displays of creativity. And today, we're excited to announce our biggest unlock yet: text to video with Gen 2. Now you can generate a video with nothing but words. No driving video, no input image. Gen 2 represents yet another major research milestone and another monumental step forward for generative AI. With Gen 2, anyone, anywhere can suddenly realize entire worlds, animations, stories, anything you can imagine. Gen 2, coming very soon to runwayml.com.
Now let's move to code generation. AI-assisted code generation is one of the most exciting fields in generative AI, in my opinion. Talented web developers have long been considered as superhumans, boasting some cryptic skills enhanced by the scalability of computing. And generative AI is now propelling those superpowers into the stratosphere. We will have a look at GitHub CoPilot, a coding assistant powered by the OpenAI Codex model. CoPilot can suggest code and entire functions in real time right from your editor. Just as text-oriented services output predicted words, GitHub CoPilot will suggest relevant code snippets. So let's watch a quick demo, a very simple demo. We won't dive into a long script. So let's do this. So I am in PyCharm, that's my code editor, and I will start a list. So I just initialize a list equals square bracket, and you will see here the suggestion of GitHub Copilot, a series of numbers, just for the demo. I just hit tab on my keyboard to confirm the suggestion. I move to the next line, and directly, even before typing anything, I had this suggestion to create a for loop to iterate through the list. So for I, for element in list column. So I just hit tab to confirm. And as you can see, immediately the AI suggested that maybe I wanted to print out each element from the list. So print and I between brackets, so like this. So I just hit tab there. And that's it. So I've got a very basic example here. But as you can see, it was just hitting 3 times tab from the moment I had written my first square bracket in the list. So very, very impressive suggestions. And I just ran the code there. And obviously, I got all the elements of my list printed out. I think it's one of the best examples of AI amplifying your natural skills. According to a recent report by Sequoia Capital, GitHub CoPilot is now generating nearly 40% of the code in the projects where CoPilot is installed. And the service costs only $100 per year on an annual plan. I think it's definitely a great investment if you're coding on a regular basis. Using ChatGPT, you can go beyond simple code suggestions and create a full application, a plugin, or a widget. A developer recently recreated the iconic game Flappy Bird in 3 hours using ChatGPT and MidJourney to generate the art. To be fair, if you watch the full video, this guy has a fairly good understanding of the software he's using. Unity for gaming and Photoshop for the images. And of all the game-specific terminology, a random person with zero experience in design, gaming, and coding would not be able, out of the box yet, to reproduce this experiment and just ask the AI, just give me some Flappy Bird code. It's not as easy as that at the moment. But you can already ask ChatGPT to assist you with easier tasks, such as creating a simple HTML form styled in material design, sending submissions to an endpoint like getform.io. And we will watch in a moment a quick demo. But first, the first few seconds of this video about Flappy Bird recreated with ChatGPT.
I wanted to know if ChatGPT could make a video game. So I asked it to make Flappy Bird for me, but we're going to have one rule. I'm not going to write a single line of code. Any code that we use is going to be written by ChatGPT. I'm just going to copy paste it over. This could go very wrong.
So it was pretty impressive. And obviously, he encountered a few problems, hurdles, a few bugs. And so he had to just chat with ChatGPT to fix those bugs. But in the end, ultimately, he got a fully functional Flappy Bird clone. So if you want to have a look at the way he did it, it's a 7-minute, 30-second video only, which you can find on YouTube, how someone recreated Flappy Bird in 3 hours using ChatGPT. And I want to show you something easier, more simple. So how you can ask ChatGPT to create a form in material design, which will be ready to use. So it's just a text prompt. So I asked here ChatGPT to give me the code for an HTML form with 3 fields: first name, last name, email address. Don't show labels on top of the fields, but use the field names as placeholders inside the fields. And then you style the form in material design with inline CSS, and you connect the form to getform.io to receive the submission. But as you can see, even here, there are a few details that require some, I would say, structural knowledge of how a form is usually created. For instance, I know that by default, many form builders will write the labels of the field names on top of the fields. And I don't want that. I want something, more modern. So I want just the placeholders inside the fields. And I want also material design. So you have to know what material design is. And also I wanted to have inline CSS, and I wanted to connect this form to an endpoint to receive the submission, because if you don't have any endpoint, any backend, you can't store the submission. So you need a little bit of knowledge of how this is structured, even if you don't need to have coding knowledge. So let's have a look at the output of ChatGPT. As you know, ChatGPT can output code out of the box. And so it says, here is the HTML code for this form that you asked me to create. So it will start with all the import of the style sheet for the material design. So link to the style sheet, as you can see, and also the metadata of the form. And then it will add some CSS rules inline, as you can see there, some some rules in the same file, not in a separate CSS file. And in the end, it will create, that will be the easiest part, the 3 fields for the form and the submit button. So now we move to the form, as you can see, first field, second field, third field. And also, as you can see, it sets the action to post the content of the form to the endpoint on getform.io to store those submissions. And we have the submit button. That's it, basically. So if you copy paste all of this code inside your CMS or inside any code editor, you can see a preview of the form. So that's getform.io if you want to receive the submissions. And this is in CodePen, a preview of the form there in the bottom with first name, last name, and email address. And you will see that the form is fully functional, because if I remove the email address and try to submit with an empty field, it will tell me that I have to fill out the field. So you can create something pretty simple or even more advanced if you want to take some time to do it using ChatGPT. And I'm using ChatGPT on a daily basis to code specific functions in Python. Let's say, for instance, that you want to extract 10 screenshots at regular intervals from a video. You just ask ChatGPT and you will get a detailed tutorial, including the code, to insert in your favorite code editor like PyCharm in my case. It took less than 30 seconds to implement this function into a longer script. And I would say that, as in traditional coding projects, it is advised to adopt a modular approach in your conversations with ChatGPT. Do not expect the chatbot to output 500 lines of code in a single reply. First, it's not possible because the engine is limited by the amount of tokens it can generate in a single reply. So you should divide your brief in multiple sections, add print comments in the code to help you with debugging also. And if something goes wrong, copy-paste your current code into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to fix the mistakes. Be aware that sometimes you will also end up in some kind of never-ending loop of successive bugs in ChatGPT. But generally speaking, you will get pretty good results if you are well organized and crystal clear in your brief. So far, generative AI has been confined to a one-off action-reaction format. You ask for something and you get an immediate result. It is great, but you can't ask the AI to work on a more sophisticated assignment involving a series of tasks and come back with a set of structured results. This was without counting on the speed of iterations in this fast-paced industry. We have here a little illustration of baby AGI created by MidJourney. At time of putting together this presentation, the latest advancement in the GPT world is the launch of autonomous AI agents, also called AutoGPTs, which are able to create a task list from a single prompt, carry out those tasks, and deliver results when the tasks have been completed. AutoGPT is to GPT what self-driving cars are to automobiles. In the near future, we can expect the verticalization of those AI agents to improve their effectiveness in a set of specific industries. You could, for instance, develop AutoGPT for social media management or AutoGPT for accounting. This approach is best suited for recurring tasks, obviously. Some people consider AutoGPTs, also called baby AGIs, as the early version of AGI for artificial general intelligence, the expected final outcome of the AI evolution, the ultimate singularity, when we will have an AI capable of solving any issue and performing any task, a super intelligent AI more capable than all humans combined. We're not there yet, but this perspective has many prominent thinkers now worrying about the existential risk posed by an AI which would not necessarily align its goals with our best interests. Coming back to more practical considerations, I believe that Python plays more than ever a central role in the development of generative AI services. I've created this schema which shows you the interaction between the content that you can tap into, the input that you receive, and the output that you generate, and how you process them using the LLMs. I strongly advise anyone interested in AI to learn the basics of Python. It will take you, let's say, 2 to 3 months with a little bit of experience, with some help from ChatGPT also, in order to be able to build advanced workflows and reap the benefits of this technology. All the projects that you see popping up on a weekly basis are usually powered by Python under the hood. What does the fast development of AI, and in particular generative AI, mean for the future of work? Before giving you my personal conclusion, I would like to share a 3-minute segment of a long conversation between Lex Friedman and Manoli Skelis, a professor in computational biology at the MIT. So let's listen to Manoli Skelis.
With AI, the concept of I am my profession might need to be revised, because I defined my profession in the first place as something that humanity needed, that I was uniquely capable of delivering. Mm-hmm. But the moment we have AI systems able to deliver these goods, for example, writing a piece of software or making a self-driving car or interpreting the human genome, then that frees up more of human time for other pursuits. Mm-hmm. These could be pursuits that are still valuable to society. I could basically be 10 times more productive at interpreting genomes and do a lot more. Or I could basically say, oh, great, the interpreting genomes part of my job now only takes me 5% of the time instead of 60% of the time. So now I can do more creative things. I can explore not new career options, but maybe new directions for my research lab. Mm-hmm. I can sort of be more productive, contribute more to society. And if you look at this giant pyramid that we have built on top of the subsistence economy, what fraction of US jobs are going to feeding all of the US? Less than 2%. Basically, the gain in productivity is such that 98% of the economy is beyond just feeding ourselves. And that basically means that we kind of have built this system of interdependencies of needed or useful or valued goods that sort of make the economy run, that the vast majority of wealth goes to other, what we now call needs, but used to be wants. Mm-hmm. So basically, I want to fly a drone. I want to buy a bicycle. I want to buy a nice car. I want to have a nice home. I want to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, and then sort of, what is my direct contribution to my eating? I mean, I'm doing research on the human genome. I mean, this will help humans. It will help all of humanity. But how is that helping the person who's giving me poultry or mm-hmm. vegetables? So in a way, I see AI as perhaps leading to a dramatic rethinking of human society. If you think about sort of the economy being based on intellectual goods that I'm producing, what if AI can produce a lot of these intellectual goods and satisfies that need? Does that now free humans for more artistic expression, for more emotional maturing, for basically having a better work-life balance, mm-hmm. being able to show up for your 2 hours of work a day or 2 hours of work like 3 times a week with like immense rest and preparation and exercise, and you're sort of clearing your mind, and suddenly you have these 2 amazingly creative hours. You basically show up at the office as your AI is busy answering your phone call, making all your meetings, revising all your papers, etc. And then you show up for those creative hours and you're like, all right, autopilot, I'm on. Mm-hmm. And then you can basically do so much more that you would perhaps otherwise never get to, because you're so overwhelmed with these mundane aspects of your job. So I feel that AI can truly transform the human condition from realizing that we don't have jobs anymore. We now have vocations.
We don't have jobs anymore. We now have vocations. That's the way Manoli Skelis, professor in computational biology at the MIT, sees the future of AI. Generative AI is, in my opinion, a vibrant ecosystem with new entrants releasing products almost on a daily basis. It's another iPhone moment for the digital industry. We are still in the early days of this paradigm shift. The scene is moving fast, very fast, too fast, according to some people who recently called for a 6-month break to focus on human AI alignment and other security measures. In my opinion, AI can be a force for good. In a world subject to countless disruptions, it's understandable to have legitimate apprehensions about the potential misuse of AI. Most experts who express concerns about the ultimate outcome of AGI, artificial general intelligence, argue for a better alignment of AI goals with those of humanity as we know it. But is this really the best we can hope for? As humanity always made the optimal choices over the past 300,000 years. What if the advent of AGI was instead an opportunity to reinvent our trajectory? What if its infinitely effective capabilities could help us fight our worst instincts and develop our best intuitions? What if AGI turns out to be our ultimate companion, not our worst enemy? As you can see on the screen, MidJourney didn't depict a nuclear mushroom on the horizon, but a giant tree of wisdom. I am betting on a bright future for humanity. If you like this presentation, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel for more videos like this one. Don't hesitate to contact me for more information about generative AI, SEO, automation tips. You can reach me via email, contact@callmefred.com. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope to see you soon for another presentation on this channel.